Hi, guys. I'm Deslynn, Jaquias, the host of Healing with Aloha Podcast. Today, I have a special guest. His name is Jevon Wooden. He's a certified mindset and perception coach, author, speaker, founder of Live, Not Loathe, and U.S. Army veteran. He has overcome adversity, depression, and PTSD to earn multiple certifications, recognized throughout the coaching community, and an MBA from the University of Maryland Robert H. Smith Business School, an MS in cybersecurity from Fordham University. His mission is to empower others to increase their self-confidence, improve their perception of their work, and design a life they don't need a vacation from, through a mindset shift from scarcity to abundance. He does this through transformational group one-on-one and one-on-one coaching sessions, on-demand courses and training, seminars, and workshops. With further ado, guys, this is Jevon. Hi, Jevon.
Aloha. How are you, Deslynn?
Aloha. I forgot to ask you before we began this interview. Have you been here before?
I haven't. I look forward to the day that I can make it out that way. I hear wonderful things, so I just need to make it out there.
Well, at least you're here virtually.
I am. I'm looking at your background right now, and I am there.
Yeah, this is the island I'm on. So I'm on point.
Okay. So I know where to come. I'll let you know when I get there.
Yes, I have faith. It's possible. It's possible manifestation.
100%. That's what we're here to talk about today, right?
So Jevon, tell everybody a little bit what led you to doing what you do, because we both can relate. We were talking earlier. We both, have dealt with PTSD, and we've gone through some difficult times. But with a lot of help and a lot of understanding, we've learned to have a mind shift.
Yeah, and that's a great question to start with. What led me to this work? The first thing is, adversity. I grew up in Rochester, New York. At the time, we were the third poorest city, and we had the third highest murder rate per capita. So as you can imagine, that represents a lot of despair, death, and just being down, right? So at the age of 17, I faced 7 years in prison, and I faced that for an assault and robbery charge. Now, luckily, I didn't have to serve that time because by the grace of God, prosecutors dropped the case, and that was only because the witnesses didn't show. But what that time in that jail cell while I waited someone else to decide my fate, it showed me a couple things. My mom had came to visit me, my mom and my oldest sister. And when they visited me and we were sitting in that dingy, dark vegetation room, my mom told me that she put the house up for me to get a lawyer. And that represented value to me. I thought I was valueless. I thought because we didn't have any money, we were the nots, there's haves and have-nots. And I thought we were the have-nots only because we didn't have money. That's what we were told. That's what was ingrained in us as Black people and young men back then. And it was just not so. So when she told me that, I went up to my jail cell that night and I had prayed to God using my own words for the first time. And by the grace of God, he let me out, like I said. And I truly believe that time, sitting in that cell, having those experiences was just meant for God to tell me, hey, young man, this isn't your path. You're destined for something greater. And I had to see that. So fast forward, it was hard to get into college. I tried the college route, couldn't afford that. So I was working 2 full-time jobs for a while there. And I was like, F this. I'm tired of this, right? I can't do this. This is not life. I'm working to pay bills and I'm still broke. So I decided to join the military. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, this can't be life. No way. All right.
This is it.
Right. I'm young. I'm supposed to be able to, do things, live life, go play basketball or something. I couldn't do none of that. So I was like, I'm joining the military. Everyone else was like, what? Oh my God, what are you, crazy? Why are you doing that? And I said, you know what? I'm on to something. I'm on to something because everyone who was here with me in this position told me not to do it. So I know that this is the way out. This is the way out. I didn't let them project their fears and uncertainty on me. And it was the best decision I could have made, Deslynn. It was the best decision. That showed me that I was capable of leadership, that I was capable just in general of living life and being more, that I was more, right? So I had so many experiences in the military, not all of them good, but all of them experiences that I can lean on. Right. So fast forward to 2017, my final deployment in Afghanistan. This is where the help really comes in. So when I returned home 6 months, I think it was like 6 months later, got home, I started having really bad nightmares. And I started being super down. Didn't know what it was called, but it was depression and PTSD. And that was the first time I had really was like, oh, I'm good. You know, that's what you think. You're like, that's not me. That's not happening to me. Because you're taught that, you know, when you have that, oh, you're pretty much disabled. You're all these things, labels, right? Labels are dangerous. And I want to touch on that point later. Right? These labels, they really go into your head and go into your mind. I thought, really, I'm done now. Wow, what can I do? I'm not going to be able to work. You know, I was losing hope. And I remember calling my sister and I was like, you know, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. Right? This life sucks. You know, I'm feeling down. I don't enjoy anything about this life. And I was just complaining. Then I was apologizing. It was just frantic and manic. All right. I was manically depressed, I guess. And she said 2 words. She said, get help. Get help. Right.
That's what my sister told me to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was it. That was it. That was like, wait a minute. I never thought about
it's true.
Why didn't I get help?
Here, can get help.
Yeah. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I called a therapist, got me a life coach, and that's really a part of the journey. Like all that adversity led me to wanting to serve people in that way, in that capacity. And I also focus on business coaching now, where I focus more on entrepreneurs, because I realized that a lot of entrepreneurs, we just don't understand this concept of getting help, right? So that's what led me to starting Live Not Loathe, and the transition I just talked about. You know, going from that scarcity, going from that pain over to that growth, and going from that abundance and loving life. That's why I named the company Live Not Loathe.
Wow, that's pretty deep. Like that whole transition. You know, I wanted to backtrack a little bit about what you were sharing when you were a teenager, and how your mom put up the house for you, and how you felt like you didn't have value or self-worth. You know, well, you didn't say self-worth, but you didn't feel valuable. And the fact that your mom would put that kind of like brought emotions in me. I'm a mom, you know, I'll do anything for my son. But I think if anything, a parent should instill in a child is that you're valuable, you know, and that you are going to make mistakes, but you can come back from it. And so I think kudos to your mom for really showing you that, and that gave you that. You know, they always say there's a good comeback. You're going to have setbacks in life, but you're going to have a comeback too. And sometimes we get so focused on the setback that we don't realize that on the comeback, we help others along the way. And so I don't know, that part of your story was like, whoa, that's deep, you know. And then how your sister, you know, she listened to you, she acknowledged you, and then she said to get help, and the humility that you had to follow through, because not everybody is willing to admit that I need help. Like this is too much.
Yes. And that's why vulnerability is so important. I'm a vulnerability advocate, I like to say, because you really cannot do much without being vulnerable, right? We have this whole feeling of uncertainty. You know, what if I tell this person this and they go tell someone else that I don't want to know? What if they look at me differently? What if all these different things? And uncertainty goes both ways. You also have to say, what if this works? What if I tell this person and they unlock something in me that I didn't know exists? What if they know the therapist or the coach or whoever it is that can help me hit that next level? So, you know, I do this exercise with my clients, like rationalizing your thinking. Right? Is this rational? Right? Is this the only way that it could go? If it is rational, well, is it the only way that it can go? What else can happen? Right? Thinking deeper. And it's cool to have, you know, it's great to have, everyone has negative thoughts, but the key is to be aware of those, how you're thinking. What is your patterns? Because once you identify your patterns in thinking and your patterns in your behaviors, now you're playing ball, because now you can change those and replace those with positive things.
No, it's like, did you play sports growing up?
Yes.
Which
Football and basketball were my things.
Well, it's okay. So I was a cheerleader, but I'm kind of familiar more with basketball. But it's kind of like if you know the team you're going up against and you know what their plays are. It's kind of like that. You know your brain and how your tendencies spiral. Like this way, and then like learning to how to do good defense, because your brain is on the offense to protect you, quote unquote, and then you have to go past your subconscious to help yourself, to quiet the noise and then go past it, to get the basket.
Yeah, exactly. And you said something key, the subconscious. All right. Many of the thoughts we have, we don't even realize we're having them. And that's why the mindfulness or awareness, whatever you want to call it, is so important, because it's not pushing down the thought or ignoring the thoughts that's powerful. That's actually detrimental to you. It's being aware of the thoughts, being aware of it. So then you can really do something about it. So, they say we have 60,000 plus thoughts a day, right? Well, a lot of people on this earth, a lot of their thoughts are negative, right? So when that manifests and shows in different ways, right? So were you going to say something?
No, I can relate. My thoughts, I can see how I'm working on self-compassion. It's a continuous journey.
Nice. Yes. None of us, and I want to point it out, man, that healing is a journey. It's a lifelong journey. Right. We're on here talking about this, but that does not mean that we're done healing, because I'm still going through it. I know I am. I still go to therapy. I still have my own coaches. You need that, because the thing about change is there's phases to change. And one of those is regression, right? You can regress and you can forget. And that's why it's really important. That's why in yoga and meditation, they call it a practice, because even the masters have to continually work on it, right? If you think about doing the sports analogy, you think about Jordan, he still had to practice. He still had to work on his game. He still had to do the foundation. Yeah, he practiced after practice, because there's always some things you can work on and tweak to get better, right? There's no such thing as perfection. Perfection to me is doing the best you can in that moment, right? That's perfect. That's perfection. So when I run into people who suffer from perfectionism, I always ask them, did you do the best that you can do, right? Did you let yourself get stuck there, analyzing the little details, right? Where it's like, oh, I missed the deadline because I was so worried about getting my baby to be perfect and sculpting it, making sure there's no imperfections in the round ball, right? We don't need to worry about all that, right? So
let me ask you this question, since that's something you do address. What do you find has tended to be the root of people wanting to be perfect in the people you work with? Because there's a variety of reasons, but for you, what have you found?
There's a few reasons, and there's different types of perfectionism, right? But what I noticed, one, there are typically people pleasers, right? People pleasers want to get everything perfect because they don't want anyone to judge them. They want to satisfy their other people's whims, and they want people to like them. And that's one of the main reasons why I see. The second reason is because someone somewhere along the way told them that they sucked at whatever they were doing. They told them that they would never be good at anything. So they want to be really, really good at whatever they're doing, so they can quiet that voice. They hear that voice constantly telling them that they'll never be good at anything, right? So those are the two things that I've seen in my experience of why people want to be perfect.
I mean, that's something I'm working on too. But do you find that they have a hard time getting feedback or getting input from people who actually care and it's constructive? Because it's one thing for someone to give like a negative criticism because of jealousy, competitiveness towards you, like they see things to put you down. And then there's one thing to have people who are coaching you because they see the best in you and they're just trying to draw you out.
Yep. And a lot of people do suffer because even though you give them positive, the sandwich method, say something positive, then say the negative, say something good again, they just focus on that negative. They focus on the middle of that sandwich. They're like, what? I didn't hear anything else. What about this was wrong? And they're the type that if they get an A minus, because it's not an A plus or whatever the highest grade is, they go off the rails, right? Because it's like, oh, that's not perfect, right? It's not perfect. And they understand, most people who are perfectionists understand that perfectionism is a concept that can never be attained, but they still chase it.
Right. What do you suggest, like tips for people? Like, what is 1 or 2 practical things you would suggest they start to let go? Because I think if we try to live our lives just trying to progress and not to perfect, we'll be able to see our wins. And a win doesn't have to be like this monumentous moment. Like it could just be like something really small, but then that's a win.
Yeah. And that's what we have to celebrate, those small wins or what you perceive as small. I was the type of person that never celebrated anything for a long time. I just moved on to the next thing, right? Because I was like, whatever, I'm still not where I want to be. But I realized that celebrating the small wins really shows you a measure of success. It really shows you how close you are, and it gives you a new baseline. And you just enjoy life more. It's not just working, right? You see the joy. You allow yourself to take a breather. You allow yourself to do that. That's life. That's a part of life. That's just as important as doing the success thing. I tell people who struggle with perfectionism, like, don't focus so much on the outcome. Focus on the journey. Because when you focus on the journey, you understand that, all the things you learn are making you better anyway, right? And you're not, even if you don't achieve that goal, look at everything that you've accomplished just going for that goal. Right. Because sometimes we set lofty goals, which is good. It's great to set stretch goals, but if you don't hit that goal, you can't be upset with yourself. And there's a very finite difference between aspirations and expectations. So if you're a perfectionist, I say don't expect perfection. Don't expect you to get everything right. Aspire to it, because when you aspire to it, you are going to put in the work. And if you don't hit it, you're like, okay, how can I tweak it a little bit? Or what did I learn along the way that I can apply on my next attempt? Versus when you expect it, you're like, that didn't go the way I wanted it to go. Now I'm a failure, right? All these different things.
Right.
The talk to yourself is different. So those are a couple of things I say. And then I do the rationalization thing of thinking again, right? The rationalization exercise helps people tremendously, because what I have them do is write down the situation, like what happened to make them feel the way. What were they thinking at the time? What was a negative thought? Was it rational? Right? Did it actually make it, whatever they said, was it confirmed? And then what would they like to have happened? And then also, how could they reframe their thinking for the next time? And then when people see it on paper, like, oh man, I do that often. Right. Yeah. I think about that often, like, because again, if you're not aware of those thoughts, and you just say, that's just how I am. Now you're making it permanent when it's actually temporary. You can change. That's one of the only things that's constant is change.
Exactly. No. And that's so good, because sometimes you got to take what you're thinking and feeling and put it on paper to really step back and go, oh, I said that. I was in a session once, a therapy session, and I feel like I can be vulnerable, and my therapist said, it really hurts my heart to hear you talk about yourself that way. And I was like, oh, is it that bad? You know what I mean? Because I trust her, so I can share things with her. But I think hearing someone say that was like profound, because I know how to have self-compassion on people. Right. But to have that for yourself, like really have that for yourself. And what you said, aspiring and expecting, I think it's probably expecting a lot more. She said you have unrealistic expectations of yourself.
Yeah, right. But, and as a therapist, though, you have to be careful of that, too, because she made it about her. Right. So if she says, you really hurt my heart because you said that, we have to be careful as I'm not a therapist, but as coaches, about internalizing it and making this about us. Because again, if you're a perfectionist or you're someone that's a people pleaser, you could take that as I failed you, right? And now she's exacerbating the issue versus helping the issue. So
she was saying, I see so much great things about you, and then she just started telling me all the things. She goes, I could spend this whole session about what I see in you, and I was like, wow, because I can do that for people,
Yeah.
But her whole point was just learning to have compassion on yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes. But compassion is one of the main keys to happiness. Studies show that when you serve with compassion, especially to yourself, it allows you to see the good. Right. You're not just happy. And I'm not talking about like toxic positivity or any of that stuff. I'm talking about genuinely more happy. And when you're happier, or you see in that abundant space, that growth space, it allows you to see the difference between permanent situations and temporary situations. Temporary situations, there are options and opportunities to change it, right? So most of the situations we are in are temporary. Right? Most of the things that we experience are temporary, or if it's not temporary, there are ways to quell the consequences, or, kind of live with it or adapt. We are, as humans, we adapt, right? We got hedonistic adaptation. We adapt to whatever the situation or circumstances is. Case in point, if someone gets a new car, they may be happy for a week, a month, but then after that, it's just a car to them, right? So that's the type of things that humans adapt to, right?
I really like how you said that it's important for us. You can probably hear the birds. I'm on an island.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I just realized I hear the birds.
I hear it.
Like chickens and roosters and birds.
Yes, they're singing to us. They are agreeing.
Like, yes.
They're like, yes, that's what we're talking about.
I think, like, what you just said about having compassion of yourself, that really makes our life full.
Yes.
Because the things that we can chase after, whether it's taught to us, like, oh, get a good job, own a house, get a career, go to college, whatever, you know what I mean? Sometimes you can chase after things because you were told this is what will make you happy. But then you get to that point and then you're like, okay, I'm here now. So what?
Yes. Yeah, you have to have your own definition of what success is. Because success, I mean, the definition in general is to achieve what you aim for, right? That's success. But what are you aiming for? You have to know what you are aiming for, not what everyone else wants you to aim for. We see it all the time. People who are successful by society's definition, maybe they are a doctor, maybe they're a successful business person because they took on their family's business, but that wasn't what they wanted to do, right? So they go through all this work and every day they're miserable. And then they decide to go a completely different direction because that's what made them happy. So I just challenge people to start off identifying what your goals are, not what your parents' goals are, not what, whoever else goals are. What are your goals? Where do you see yourself being the most happy? Visualize it. Literally close your eyes, right? Like those birds were chirping. Do you see the birds? Are you in Hawaii, right? You're sipping a nice beverage, right? So, that's where I'm at right now, as y'all can see. Right, I'm over in Hawaii with Deslynn.
No, I mean, I like that is like the way you just said it, like you aim for something, like for success, and that is success. For people like who endured trauma, right? I've told people that for someone who's dealing with depression, and I can attest to it, and I know you can understand. Sometimes success is just getting out of bed.
Yes. We have to,
opening your
have to be kind. Be kind to yourself. And that's one of the reasons why I always challenge my clients to practice self-gratitude. Right? When I wake up, before I even open my eyes, I'm thanking God, but I'm also thanking myself because I want to thank myself for how far I've come, all the things I've gone through, but never gave up on me. Right? I've invested my time, invested my money, invested my dollars in becoming the best version of myself, right? And living that fully, living freely to the best of my abilities. And we just have to practice that because when you can practice the gratitude to yourself, you realize everything you've gone through and still you are waking up, you are doing what needs to be done, right? And that's a hard thing to do in itself. Especially all the things we've experienced over these past years, these few years, right? With the pandemic and
Scary,
death,
yeah.
and all the mass shootings and all these things that's going on. That's success, right? But then you build off of that success. Like, I'm doing this. That shows you that you are more than capable of living that life you don't need a vacation from.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like you said, you live a life that you don't have to have a vacation. Like, nothing wrong with going on vacation, everybody.
No. No.
But it's just you want to be able to be present and embrace what's going on at this moment. Yes. And if you don't like it, I'll have the courage to make the necessary changes to adapt.
That's it. And when people say, "Oh, what is a life you don't need a vacation from?" me, because I know I still need a vacation. I'm like, it's a mindset, right? It's a mental thing. It's like, because even so, I look at this like people who take physical vacations. A lot of people can't relax on their physical vacation because they're taking all the stress with them. So if your mind isn't free, there's no way that changing your physical environment is going to do anything for you, right? Again, hedonistic adaptation. You're going to be like, "Oh, this is nice." You're going to sit there like, "Oh, I wonder what the work I'm going to have to do when I get back."
It's true.
So you have to start here with the vacation. You have to go here and change everything. And like you said, identify what you can change. Don't focus on what you can't change.
Right. And trying to find like simple activities that you can do that allows you to find peace within yourself, because the whole dealing with anxiety and PTSD is allowing yourself to identify what are some activities that I can do that helps me to breathe deeply, helps me to not let the things from the past crowd my mind, and just being able to be happy and to be, like joyful, giving yourself permission to be joyful. Some people, it's a stretch.
Yes.
But to me, that's what I think is vacation. Like a genuine taking, like, you don't need a vacation from your life, is knowing what you enjoy doing or trying to figure it out. Like, okay, maybe I don't have anything I enjoy doing, but developing hobbies and activities.
100%. And Snoop Dogg, he said it best. He said, "I haven't taken a vacation in 30 years. He took his first vacation not too long ago. Why? Right? He traveled all the world, but he was doing it to work. But why did he not take a vacation in 30 years? Because he loves everything he's doing, right? Loves everything he's doing. He's doing it with all of his heart. And we see him everywhere, right? He's working. He has a body of work like no other. So we know he's doing things, but he enjoys it. And that is the key. His mindset is so of the world that he appreciates every single experience he has, right? He literally lives within himself, and that is transposed into his environment. So that's what I'm talking about when we say you don't need a vacation from. And identifying resources and tools, like if you do suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD, and all those things, is key, right? Identify what works for you. Have a bag of tricks in your pocket for when you do start feeling that. Like one of the first things I started with was like an inner child healing exercise. That helped me tremendously. Like I literally had 2 chairs, and I sat in one chair and I looked at the other chair and I talked to her and say, "Yo, you know what? You're fine now. Everything you went through as a child, look at us. We are strong. We are bold. We are walking in our purpose. We are doing things we never thought was possible." Wow. And I sat there and I had that conversation, and people, like, wow, that's crazy. But if you try it, you will see the power of that, because we have to stop worrying so much about what other people think about what we're doing. That's one of the things that is killing dreams. And that's why the graveyard is the richest place on earth, because dreams are killed for so many reasons, right? And that's one of the things, fear of what other people think of us.
Yeah, because I think, one, sometimes people don't even try because they fear they fail. They never try. Yep. And then another thing is that they take a long time to fulfill it, or if it never happens. But I think it's the journey along the way, and the relationships you make along the way.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And, there's another fear that people don't like to admit, fear of success.
Mm-hmm.
So I run into a lot of people who just soon as they get like right there, they're like, oh, I'm taking all these actions, especially in business, right? A lot of people have great ideas, but then when they get to that door, they're knocking on the door, they're about to release their product, they back away, right? Because they fear success. They're like, what if this does work? How am I going to handle all these people, right? I don't want to be famous. You start thinking about all these things. So there are so many fears, but the key is to identify why, right? Identify why you fear, why, what's stopping you, what obstacles, because if you know why you fear it, then you can start reverse engineering the obstacles, and then you can create a plan of action to get over, through, or around those obstacles.
Right.
So it's really everything we're talking about here is about having some type of plan you create, right? And it doesn't have to be a perfect plan. It's just really about knowing what you want to accomplish. That's first part of the plan. What are you trying to accomplish, right? That's really a goal. The goal is what you're trying to accomplish. I want to lose 10 pounds and then win, right? By when do you want to do this? In
right.
30 days. Whatever it is, we have to make sure we're very, very specific about what we're trying to accomplish. Then you have to have your why. Why do you want to do that? What would it mean for you? Why is that important for you to accomplish this goal, to get that what? And then when you have those two things, the how comes after you start taking action. So it goes, you're going to meet the people you need to meet. You're going to invest in the courses, coaches, and conferences that you need to invest in. You're going to read the books you need to invest in. So that's how I always look at it. That's really how I set my stuff. I'll figure out the what and the why, and then I'll set action, and the how comes. That's just it.
No, but I think that's great. But if you are someone, and if you're listening, if you're not used to being around people who think on this level, I think it's okay to go outside of your family and friends. It might be the person who's going to help you might not even be in your town, in your state, in your country.
Yeah.
So just
that's
have
why
an open heart.
Exactly. You have to have an open mind and heart. And that's why I said vulnerability is so important, because if you're not vulnerable, you can't get the help you need, right? You can't get that therapist because you don't want to talk to them, no matter if they have the unbiased opinion or not. You're like, why do I need to talk to this person? They don't know nothing about me. You start thinking about these and confirming that, right? You're going to just say things to yourself that makes you feel better. But yeah, you if you're not vulnerable, you will not reach the point that you are looking to reach. Right? It's impossible, because you need other people, some way, shape, form, or fashion. We are social beings. And even if you think that you're self-made, everybody you see that says they're self-made has somebody that helped them along the way. I don't care who you are, right? They've given you some advice, even if you don't know them, right? I call them my virtual mentors, like Muhammad Ali, one of my virtual mentors, Barack Obama. These are people that don't know me at all, but I know them, and I look at what they do, and I'm like, yes, I'm taking that.
Yeah, I'm going to apply that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's a good point too. Like what you're saying, like some of the people who are mentoring you and coaching you, they would maybe never meet you, but you can still glean from them and learn from them and, be impacted.
Yes.
And vice versa.
I was just going to say, you may be impacted. And one of the best ways to heal and impact is to tell your story. That's really what got me on this journey. That's why I'm talking to you today, Deslynn. I started telling my story, right? I was one of those people that like, man, do I really want to tell people? Like, I was facing 7 years in prison. I grew up in a polygamous household and poor and all these other things. And I said, yes, I do want to tell people, because who cares? Whatever they say, it doesn't matter, because I'm not really talking to those people who are the haters and the naysayers. I'm talking to the people who let me know that, hey, I'm glad you shared this because I needed somebody today. I was down in the dumps and this saved me. Those are the people I'm talking to. So that's the people you can talk to, right? You can talk to that community, and it creates that space that you're looking for. And those people that we mentioned, you may not even know, you start to get to know them.
Yeah, no. And the way you can transfer the story and the message, it could be like anybody else, but there's something special when it comes from you.
Yes, exactly. Because there's people sharing the same message, but when the messenger is different, is conveyed differently, and different people need to hear that from that messenger.
Yes. And I think that that's something that we all need to realize, that on the other side of fear is love, and being vulnerable. It takes a lot of love for yourself, because you're holding that mirror to yourself, that this is who you are, but you're so awesome. And letting other people know that they're equally awesome regardless of their story.
Yes, I love what you said. On the other side of fear is love. And you know what? One of the people that I run into fear the most, looking into the mirror and saying, I love you. Right. So I challenge all the listeners to do that. Look into the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. Right. And
like genuinely tell yourself, I love you. I like you.
Yes. It's really hard for people to do. Right? It's really hard, and a lot of people, it's really awkward to genuinely mean that, because a lot of us have self-loathing. There goes that word again. This is why I chose it, right? They have self-loathing. They just do not like who they are. They don't like the life they're living. They despise their circumstances. They hate their job. Their spouse is getting on their nerves. The kids are annoying, right? So that's the life. Like, they start looking at life that way, and you just putting yourself deeper and deeper and deeper. So I like to challenge that thinking. Instead of I have to do something, I get to do something. Instead of, dang, these freaking kids, look at them. Why are they a blessing to you? Why is your spouse a blessing to you? Right. And if they're taking away more than you give for the spouse side, maybe it's time. There's something you have to let go. You have to look at that too. Right. Because a lot of us carry anchors, negative anchors, that are really holding us back. And then you get to the point, like those people who just point the finger at everything else. Are you that person? So there's different people you can be. You have to figure out who you truly are. And then what can you change that you want to change about yourself? Because that exercise, that introspection, is some of the hardest work you can do. Some of the hardest work you can do is looking at yourself and saying, what am I accountable for? Wow. And not blaming you, right? But just looking at how you can change things and change your circumstances that you don't like.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important. Like you said, like, we self-loathe and we hate ourselves, but a lot of the hate and the anger we can feel towards ourselves was taught to us early on. However, we, like you said, even trying that exercise, sitting in the chair, an empty chair, and talking to your little self and saying, I got your back, right? Yeah. I love you, and things wasn't the greatest, but I'm gonna take care of you this time. You know what I mean?
Yes. Letting yourself know you're not that person
yourself
anymore. Exactly. And like I said, it's like there's gonna be some uncomfortable times. You're gonna be doing things, but you have to think outside the box, right? Because you put yourself in the box. Now you have to think outside the box you put yourself in, right? No matter who told you whatever, we are in an era where you can find the help to work on that, but you have to be willing to work on that, and you have to be willing to listen to whoever is trying to give you that help, right? And I'm not talking about your friends and family. I'm talking about unbiased people. And it may take you a while to find those people. I just want people to know that too. You may go through 5 therapists and be like, what the heck did I just run into? But you have to keep going if you know you need help.
It's true. Yeah.
I did it. I still do it. Like, anytime I move, like, if my therapist that I was with don't offer like telehealth and all the other stuff, I gotta move. Go somewhere else and be like, listen, I need a new therapist, and then we go through the process all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, how far back do we need to go?
Exactly.
I'm so grateful just for everything you shared about what you've been through, and like the importance of having compassion and just opening your heart and being vulnerable, so that you can get the help that you need, and by you telling your story, you can transform people. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners that you haven't shared already?
Yeah. I want listeners to know that if you believe, right, in you, believe that you can do something, believe that you can change, the things you think that are permanent, they will fade away, and you'll realize most of that is temporary, and you can control what you can control, and that's what you focus on.
No, and that's true, and that's great. What is the best way for people to contact you or to reach you?
Sure. On all social media platforms, you can reach me at Live Not Loathe. That's LIVENOT LOATHE. You can go to livenotloathe.com, all of my programs, and sign up for my newsletter.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Healing with Aloha podcast. Guys, definitely connect with him. So inspiring. And if you haven't already, subscribed to the Healing with Aloha podcast. But guys, thank you so much. And you guys have a great day. Thanks so much, Jevon.
Thank you so
Aloha.
much, Deslynn. Aloha.